morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning shows. We continue this morning's discussion. We are heading straight on into our conversation with our very first guest on with us this morning, Sharon Clark-Rowley, attorney at law and wife of the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Christopher Rowley. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning to you and to Trinidad and Tobago, all your viewers.
All right, I think it is safe to say we certainly want to welcome you. I think this is your first appearance here on the Tobago Updates morning show, and we're happy to have you.
It certainly is, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure indeed, Mrs. Rowley. Let me take the opportunity this morning to say happy belated yet International Women's Day to you.
Thank you very much. And you took in front of me because I was going to say Happy Women's Day to you and to the rest of Tobago, Trinidad and Tobago, because it's every day is Women's Day and we should be celebrated.
Most definitely. Now let's get right into things here as we focus on the issue here at hand. International Women's Day. This year's theme: Embrace Equity. Give us an idea. Share with our viewers this morning, if you may, your thoughts on the appropriateness of this particular theme.
I think it is an excellent theme, going hand in the United Nations goal for sustainable development by the year 2030. That means if we are to follow that, we have until just 8 more years. And Sustainable Development Goal, which is one of the 17 goals which the United Nations in 2014 set forth to achieve, is goal number 5, which deals with gender equality and the empowerment of women. And if we are to achieve that, to spur us around in doing that, they come up with these themes on a yearly basis. And in this regard, I think as we move along, following the basic tenet that nobody's to be left behind, and we are looking at our women folk, then we must embrace fairness in dealing with them. We must seek gender equality and gender equity, fairness when we are dealing with women. Equal work, equal pay. Everything else that we need to get us there, to strike that balance between male and the female individual. And I think Embrace Equity is one of those themes which could take us throughout the year and into the next 8 years.
Yes, you are certainly known for your work and efforts in terms of connecting with women, both within the professional sector as well as providing that support to those who are not yet at that level. How important do you think that is, women particularly lending that level of support to each other, indeed, in embracing this, equality?
I think it's important that we as a group of women support each other. There are those who cannot speak for themselves. I call them the voiceless ladies in our country. And it is important that those who have a platform to speak use that platform to speak for those who live in silence, those who live in fear. And if we as women are able to do that, then we bring out a whole group of our sisters who are in many cases, who live in despair. And if we can help to bring them out, if we can help to give them that hope, then that is our job. We have to be our sister's keeper.
And I love how you said that. We have to be our sister's keeper. With the theme for the United Nations this year, Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. The aim is to highlight the gender gaps in STEM education and careers. And I will just remind our viewers this morning, for those of you listening, that STEM is the acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. What are your thoughts, Mrs. Rowley, on women and girls being important players in this STEM arena?
Basically, I think that over the years, we have found that women and girls do not gravitate to the STEM subjects. I think if we were probably to do a survey on that, it would be shown that that tends to be, unfortunately, the domain of the male population. Of course, there are those who done the STEM subjects and are really exceeding in that area. But if we admit to ourselves, we are in the minority. And in that regard, I say that we have to start at the schools, primary school level, where we encourage our girls, our young girls, to get involved in those subjects and to view your career in terms of a scientist or someone in the technological field, because increasingly we are moving to a totally digital world. We have government which is digitizing. We have all other institutions who have followed that path of becoming a digital world. And therefore, we have to get our women, our ladies involved so they are not behind. And in that regard, I say again, the platform is to be used not only by women calling out other young girls and women to come into the digital field, but by men joining in and say, come and join us. Let us work side by side. If we are to achieve, I come back to the goal at 2030, if we are to achieve that social development, environmental development, and generally development of our countries to the level that one is hoping for by 2030.
And Mrs. Rowley, where would you say Trinidad and Tobago ranks in the scheme of keeping on track with this particular theme? Are we there? Are we ready? Are we almost there? Are we on track?
I will say of all the options you have given me that we say we are on track. Because I mean, it's Trinidad and Tobago. We are never left behind. So we join, I use the word bandwagon, and we move forward. We are not there. In fact, I don't think any country in the world globally is there yet. But we have a goal. We know what we are moving towards. Technology, innovation are becoming increasingly important in globally. And therefore, we must join and we must ensure that digitization becomes part, the word becomes a household word.
As we look at the team, speaking to empowering our women and girls, you are married to one of our top office holders in the country. And I just want to get your feel from the perspective of encouraging other females and girls. Is there ever a case of, as some would say, feeling intimidated? Because you appear to be a powerhouse, even on your own, by virtue of, the identity of a Sharon Clark-Rowley, separate and apart from even looking at the collective. What do you say to other, women and others from the standpoint of, whether it be, don't be intimidated at all? I'm trying to get a sense from you as a woman. Is that ever an issue?
For me, yes, it has been. And I think with age, probably, and experience, I have developed a level of confidence that one even allows me to speak to you. There was a time when I would have said, okay, I was not available for an interview, or I would not go on a public platform and speak. I probably still would not go on a public political platform to speak. But I feel that you as an individual, we talk about embracing equity, but you as an individual must embrace yourself. And when I say that, I mean that you have to understand you before you reach out to help others, before you reach out to embrace equity. And once you know who that authentic person is, that the real you, then you can then move and and follow the path that you as an individual want to set for yourself. You not to be, you look around and you see what goes on and who you admire, who is your role model. But in the end, you have to be your own role model. And I tell young people that We look around and we see role models, and that's your guide. But you be your own role model. You be the one who develops your self-esteem. You understand about respect. At the school level, you know that I'm there. Education is one of my goals, and it should be one of the goals of not only of women but of men, because without a good education, really there's nowhere for you to go. And education doesn't only mean an academic education, it goes beyond that. And then we then must, as women and girls, as part of your being empowered, understand that firstly, education is important.
Now, as Julian mentioned, Mrs. Rowley, yours is a very influential voice in Trinidad and Tobago, in large part due to the fact that due to your esteemed position of being the wife of our Prime Minister. Mrs. Rowley, how do you define your role in our national efforts to bridge the gender equity gaps here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, I
We are
see
on
that.
track. Sorry, you mentioned earlier
Yes,
that we are on track. So you can take it
that's
from there.
okay. I see that as wife of the Prime Minister, I have been given a platform which I could use to promote one. I say in trying to achieve gender equality, one of the things we have to is eliminate gender-based violence, eliminate interpartnership violence, so that if we are to do that, and if I am allowed to speak against these things, then I will take every opportunity to do that. And this being International Women's, I would say, month, a year, because as I said before, every day for me is International Women's Day, is International Women's Day, Women's Day. And if I use that platform and every opportunity given to me, at least I can be that voice for what I call the voiceless persons who live in fear. You know, I always say singing Francine talks about run away, but it's not so easy to run away if you feel he will kill you dead. It is not so easy to pack up your bags and sneak out of the house, because some men will follow you and they will follow you until they kill you. So if we have persons who are able to speak for those women, to speak to the men about their behavior, then I see that as a role that I have undertaken to help other women, other sisters. As I said before, be your sister's keeper.
Be your sister's keeper indeed. Does your fight or does your role in this fight extend to the Caribbean region, or is it localized to Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh no, I say that it extends regionally, and simply because as wife of the Prime Minister, I am also right now an executive member of a group called the Spouses of CARICOM Leaders Action Network. And it is an action group comprising spouses of heads of state and prime ministers, which has set about to improve the lives of women, young people, and children. And again, following the UN's tenet. But what we do, we have a number of pillars which we are given the liberty of choosing. And my two pillars are cervical cancer, because I have a, a vested interest in seeing the elimination of cancer, not only in Trinidad and Tobago, but throughout the region. And in that regard, I am patroness of the Caribbean Association of Oncology and Hematology, which deals with increasing cancer awareness throughout the region, encouraging people to go to screening and so on. And my other pillar is that of the elimination of domestic violence. So whatever I do here, we tend to spread throughout the region. The speeches, the encouragement, we treat throughout the Caribbean and with our other members of ESCLAN.
We look at and we hear attorney at law, we hear wife of the prime minister. But we also see, and know for a fact, successful mom in terms of that engagement with family life. What would be your message, particularly to girls, as we celebrate, our International Women's Day, International Women's Month, to continue to encourage and to guide them along this pathway, especially the society that we live in today, where some feel a little daunted by the many things happening out there and aren't always as confident as they should.
Um, Basically, I'm going to go back to the UN theme of embrace equity and embrace yourself. But I always, and I've always said to my daughters, particularly with regard to the education, do best. You could do better than your best. If you come from a less fortunate sector of the society, do not be intimidated. You can be whoever you want to be. You must dream big. And everybody talks about dreaming big. But what I say is, you dream, but get up and act. Do what you want to do. Be the person you want to be. Be proud of what you do, and let us all be proud of you.
I know the focus this morning is on our women and our girls, but what would be your message to our men? Because they also play a very critical role in gender based violence. They also play a major role. So, what would be your message to our men and our boys?
To them, I say, one, again, embrace equity, embrace fairness, understand that this is a world where Trinidad and Tobago, for instance, it is almost an equal distinction between ratio between men and women, just about 1% difference. So you, as a man, you are no better than women. We are all equal, and the bird, I say, has two wings. We can't fly. That bird can't fly if one wing is broken. We have to assist in keeping those wings at a balance. We work together, both men and women. You, as a man, I encourage you, you boys, you have to respect yourself first and respect women. And know that you are there, we are there to help each other. We can walk hand in hand along that road to gender equality, which, as I say, is set for 2030. But there's some who say that we need another 150 years. I don't want to go by that. That is way too far for us as women to be considered on the same level as men. So, to the men, I say, you embrace equity, you understand about the fairness, you understand about equality and respect.
Okay. A question coming in from the live on the live this morning. What is the hardest thing you've had to deal with as a woman and having a husband so high in public life?
The hardest thing, I mean, I stop and I think, and I really thought that life was moving along quite easily without anybody having anything negative to say about you. So I was probably living in a bubble. So that I would probably say it has been dealing with what should I say? Dealing with malice and dealing with individuals who do not respect you as an individual, as a person. And but I remember early in 2015, somebody asked me about that Teflon image. And at times it becomes necessary to have a Teflon image, and you feel that that person must be invincible. But in the end, I am human and with human emotions, and you have to learn to deal with what comes your way once you are in the arena, political arena.
Another question coming in here on the live for you, Mrs. Rowley. If you had the chance to see your younger self today as a woman, what would you say to her? Sharon Clark-Rowley.
That's right. So I'm looking back to myself as Sharon Clark. I'm dropping the Rowley because as a young woman, that's who I was. And I would say be confident about yourself. Be ensure that you have a proper education, ensure that as you go along, you have proper morals, values, and it is important to have a spiritual connection. Have an have ensure that you have that faith in the Almighty to take you along that journey, which is called the journey of life.
Very, very interesting. And I'm sitting here in this interview, very encouraging and motivating. Just hearing you in terms of telling us about that story. Many look to you in terms of as a mentor, as a mother, really being that kind of inspiration and guide in terms of our nation and even beyond the walls of just Trinidad and Tobago. I want to get an idea from you. Is there anyone that you would say serves as that mentor for you, or someone you look up to, whether within the Trinidad and Tobago, in the region, or the world at large, perhaps?
I mean, this is not the first time I'm being asked that question. And I honestly have to say, I mean, she's not here with me today, but my mother had to be my role model. She was an exceptional. She was not, I mean, she didn't go to university, but she had that innate knowledge. She knew what life was about. And she imparted, and my father imparted values in me and my two sisters that benefited we have benefited from forever. So, in terms of role model, Edna Clark.
Thank you. And it seems maybe our mothers are related because mine was the same.
Exactly, and I'm sure many people have that role model in their lives.
That's right. That's right. Now, Mrs. Rowley, finally, can you share with us a little bit about our Tobago-born Prime Minister whose heart you stole many moons ago and who became your life partner? Without giving away too many secrets, how would you rate our PM in terms of his support for you, a powerful, independent, successful, professional woman, and the wife who is always by his side?
110%. Simply that. I mean, I say I could not ask for more in a husband when it comes to supporting his wife and his family. Keith has been my rock. As you say, we got married in 1985, so that's quite some time ago. And for that entire period, through thick and thin, he has supported everything that I have done. So, in that regard, I wouldn't change that husband, right?
Definitely. I know some persons would have asked along the way, was he ever threatened by your success? Was he ever threatened?
Never. Because I think if it comes to success, I honestly think that he has been probably more successful than I have been. And he is comfortable in his shoes. So that I certainly am not a threat to him.
Okay. And I have to applaud your choice of color for your nails this morning, because I noticed that we're wearing the same colors this morning. So I don't know how that happened.
Well, possibly it just could be that it is related. I could use that when the people ask me about it. I say, okay, the color for International Women's Day and for women is purple. So it just so happened. That's right. Embrace, right? We embrace the color and we embrace equity. So it just so happens that my purple nails go hand in hand with the theme.
Right, most definitely.
Kudos and commendations. All I can say is certainly thank you so much, Sharon
It has been a
Clark-Rowley.
pleasure.
And I want to, just put that added comment out there. Many continue to admire. It's good that you can show an excellent combination of both beauty and brains. So you can do this thing with a classy, with a kind of a sense of style. Rightfully said by one of our viewers, a woman of class. Thank you so much for joining us here this morning.
Thank you for having me. This has been a pleasure.
Indeed, thank you so much. And Mrs. Rowley, We would love to have I think she's gone, but we would love to have a sit-down interview
Yes.
with Mrs. Rowley at some time in the near future. Yes, sorry, you're back with us, yes. We were just saying that we would love to have a nice sit-down interview with you at some point in time in the future. I think there's so many aspects of your life that can be a blessing to our public once you are willing to sit and chat with us here at Tobago Updates.
It would be my pleasure. You just tell me and I will make the time. You know how I'm Trinidad and Tobago, so I can always come across if you wish. My pleasure.
Balance, if one would say.
Yes. We appreciate it indeed, and it was a pleasure indeed chatting with you this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Certainly, it's always so encouraging, and I love the fact she gives me that one who I also admired very much, Michelle Obama. You can be that authority on your own,
Yes.
and at the same time, you can add significant value to the team within the context of marriage. And if any of my friends know me, they're probably saying, Julian, you're on a high this morning.
Yes.
Because these kinds of interactions are really, really, I feel it serves so well. Because simple words that might be expressed, but reaching the hearts of many in terms of those very expressions and reminders to some who take the little things for granted.
Definitely, and it is all in understanding your role. And I have to say, Julian, that I enjoyed that interview immensely. It was the first time, of course, that we've had Mrs. Rowley on the program, but certainly won't be the last. We can certainly say that.
I'll be tuned into your sit down.
Definite. All right, so what else have we got coming up, Julian?
Coming up in the lineup, we have Susan Grant and Marion Kent, and representatives of the Division of Education, Research and Technology. And this morning we're speaking student support services and exceptional educational needs. So we look forward to those upcoming discussions this morning with the Division of Education, Research and Technology. And this is the point, Ria, where we certainly remind our viewers, those of you joining us via TV, those listening in, we want to say thank you so much for continuing to choose the Tobago Updates morning show. And those of you online, this is your reminder to share the live,
share the live.